Hi there, how are you doing? Thank you for coming along to this video. My name is Paul Murphy. I'm sure you've read in the title bar that this is a video of me doing a series of recitals from a recently discovered cache of lyrics dating back a long time ago, 34 years in fact. This is video 3 and we are now on the 24th of October 1989. And this is the first time I've seen this lyric, to my knowledge, since I wrote it. Before I get started, I'd say, because this is the third in a series, so you may have seen the others, but if you haven't, I'm requested to make these videos of the recitals two ways. Some people request, and I say, well, I love the video, but if you cut out the chatting, you could do more pieces in there, more works, and that's a very valid comment. But when I do that, and I get other people send me nice messages saying we love the video, but where was the background story? We like it when you go off and you talk about things and go off topic and then come back to the pieces. So this is one of the ones that has that I will be, I expect, going off at all points, north, south, east, west, and crossing the 49th parallel. I will put in a 5-second break in between each one so I can put the title in. And the reason there was a pause then is because it doesn't have a title. I guess it's called I Don't Know Her Anymore. That seems to be a repeating line from here. So let's go back to 2 a.m. in the morning on the 24th of October 1989. I don't know her anymore. I don't know her anymore. The key has fallen from the door. It'll never be like it was before, and I don't know her anymore. She was all the world to me. Inside each other we were free, islands in a tempest sea, when she was all the world to me. I don't know her anymore. Did I ever? I'm not sure. What were all the feelings for? Now I don't know her anymore. She put meaning in my life, soothed my mind from fear and strife, shone the light and sheathed the knife, as she put meaning in my life. I don't know her anymore. The wounds remain so deep and sore. No surprises left in store, since I don't know her anymore. I thought love was meant to last, but mine slipped sound like from my grasp. Gained so slow, but lost so fast, and I thought love was meant to last. I don't know her anymore, though all the feelings still endure. But what can heal the heart that tore? Now I don't know her anymore. I feel terrible here because this has got the lyrics have some notations on them, and I can guess when I wrote this now, and the memories come back to most of my books. I normally put in a mention to people that have meant a lot to me in my time. And I can see here from the notes that I wrote this, so it says 2 a.m. This is what I'm reading, by the way. So these are notepads that I used to take with me wherever I used to go, and I would just sit in the corner of bars and cafes, parks. Sometimes I found somewhere it says I was just sitting in my car watching the road go by, observing life and writing about it. So the 24th of October 1989, man, that's great. But the annotation says it was written at 2 a.m. in bed. And it says Marlene and a man whose name I won't mention because he's not very nice. 24/10/1989. And so that's brought. So firstly, Marlene. I mean, you're talking 23 years ago now. So what was Marlene? 33 years ago. I think that's enough water under the bridge for me to be able to mentioned names and backstories. Marlene was a very nice lady that I knew, and we were together for a very brief but very pleasant time. She decided to go back to her ex, and the only time those two people ever met here was I was in a bar in Yeovil called it was called the Stars Lane Yuppie Bar, because you're talking 1989 now. Everyone was wearing red braces, and everyone had big hair and bigger credit card debt, you know. I was in there one day, and that was where I'd actually met Marlene, so it's kind of a local for her, not so much for me. The guy that she was seeing was married, so she could only see him a couple of nights a week, and then she would go out and do her own thing. There was a bit of an age gap between the two of them. I think Marlene was 21 and the boyfriend was 44. What would I have been in 1989? I'd have been 28, I guess. Well, no guessing about it. I was 28. So I was at the midpoint, I guess, you know. She was in the bar that night, and we exchanged pleasantries, but also in the bar was a guy. He used to run a music studio in Yeovil, and he was a crook. He robbed all the naive young musicians, of which I was one. You'd go in and you'd leave your songs around, you know, and he'd say, do you want to leave them here overnight? And you'd come back the next day and there's a copyright symbol on them. He'd copyright them in his name, if you hadn't done it already. To this day, I still don't own 6 of my own songs, and I've never played them since. I went in, I used him, the demo tape I made, actually, or the master tape, it was actually in the bookcase just over there, it came to light. Anyway, he was in there with his girlfriend, and if you left your guitars there, he would sell them, and he said, what are you going to do about it, you know? He'd been run out of so many towns, you know, and it was just, bear in mind, there was no internet in those days, you know, word of mouth took a long time to catch up with people, you know. And so he would just move from town to town. He'd open a music shop or take his porter studio with him and set up. And he'd just fleece all the local musicians, and he'd just do a run, you know. You'd agree a fee up front. And then he'd say, well, the mixing took longer than I anticipated, so if you want your tracks completed, it's going to be another 50 quid, you know. £50 is a lot of money to musicians, and back in those days when you're getting a £5 a gig, you know, that's 10 gigs work, you know. And he was awful, but he was in there that night, and he left pretty quick, I guess. I mean, I wasn't an 18-year-old, you know, who I'll tell my dad, and well, I'll beat your dad up then, you know, when they left it, you know. I was a bit of a loose cannon stuff, you know, so he decided he wanted to leave. So that must have been a bad night. Here's an interesting thing. My recollection is it was a Wednesday. I wonder if that's true. I might Google that later on. I'm not in the habit of Googling anything to do with my life. So that's the only evening that those two ever, well, the three of us, in fact, you know, were ever all together in the same place. So it was Marlene there, and she went, I must have gone home that night thinking, geez, how unlucky I am, you know, to my recent ex and this crook here. Anyway, but I got a song out of the night. Not that I've ever played it, and I'd lost it, but it's not a bad song, really. Oh goodness me. I'm sorry, I'm leaping a page ahead here. While I'm doing these books, I'm just reading them. Literally, I'm just going through them, just trying to get a record down so they exist in my voice one way or another. And those of you that would rather I just, you know, concentrate on doing the songs and everything. Two things. Firstly, I'm happy that you come to my sites, whichever one of my sites you're watching this on. And I'm happy to put my work out there for free. I mean, if you want to buy the songbooks afterwards, then obviously I'm a lot happier about that. But the reason I started making YouTube videos, there's one reason only, to get copies of my songs down, either from my albums, which was the original thing, and then I did some recordings, and now, as my health has decreased even further, recitals. I'm just making videos for my children when they grow up. No more, no less than that. I don't charge on my YouTube site or anything like that, so if you don't like it and you're bored now and your finger's twitching and hovering over the dislike button, it's the same amount of time just to click the X in the top right hand corner and go on to someone else's video. I don't want to waste your time, but don't click dislike just because you've stayed longer than you wanted to do on a video that you're not enjoying. You know, if I go see a movie and it's really bad, I don't hang around and waste my life. I get out of there. I was going to say something else then. I've completely forgotten it. Oh, I must apologise for my creaky furniture in the background. However, this video already has had far too much talking in, so now the next one is actually, I've obviously gone through this at some point here. Well, I'll talk about it at the end, shall I? Okay, so the next one, I guess with regards to Jacques Brel / David Bowie, was that written the same day? 24. Okay, so 5 minutes after finishing the other one, and it just is 5 minutes, my songs are like a diary of my life, you know, for 45 years. Anyway, so 5 minutes after finishing the other one, I'd finished this one. I went straight from that into this, and this is called My Death. And I finished this at 2:05 a.m., 24th of the 10th of 1989. My death. My death can't come soon enough for me. My death will finally set me free. My death, I've awaited her so long. My death, I'll praise her in a song. My death, I will submit myself to you. My death, I know you want me to. My death, you are my lover and my wife. My death, you are the answer to my life. And I must just put in here now, okay, well, that was an idiot that wrote that. Maybe I felt like that way. But, sorry, I'm sliding over for the reason I'm just about to talk to you about. If you're a follower of my channel, then you already know this, and if you're just watching something of mine for the first time and not read the notes, I'm actually dying. I have Progressive Bulbar Palsy Neurological disease, and I'm in the end stage of it. You probably don't notice, but there's not very much of me. I'm just basically a head and hands, and this. My body is just, you can see, there's nothing there. So I used to be out here, and it's eaten away, and I'm down to about 5% use of my... Anyway, so I'm telling you now, as a dying man, my death can't come soon enough for me. My death has come too soon for me, because I'm going to be leaving two beautiful, 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 wonderful, amazing, kind, intelligent, funny, humorous, empathic, loving young children behind. So do not take that last piece of work literally. There's no glory in death, I can tell you that. The other thing I must say is some of these pieces are unfinished, for reasons obviously I will never know. I do know that sometimes I would just get interrupted as I'm sitting wherever I'm doing writing, or I go off and do something else. Sometimes I would just come home and take what I got there and just add to it at home and record it at home. So some of these unfinished ones may exist as finished ones in this 400 plus sheath that I got of lyrics that have been lost for these 3 decades. Okay, Okay, the next one, of course I've got to come up with titles for these to copyright them. I would call this Reflections number 12. So, Reflections number 12. Will you still look as good as you always did? And I shall mourn the farewell that you had to bid. I never thought that we had gone as far as we should. Nothing that has followed has been quite as good. That's all there is to that one. Obviously I was going to start line 4 there in a different way, and I never crossed the way out, I just left it there. Sometimes, you know, I have what I call little hallmark songs where I've just written a 4 or 5 line piece, you know, to go in a card or to a message to someone. In the old days, before text messages, you know, we had to send people cards. Excuse me. So that was Reflections number 12. The next one was written 2 days later, 8:50 p.m, 30th of October 1989, Stars Lane. Cafe, and this is called In the Lane of Stars. Or it was called In the Lane of Stars. What's it called now? I turned to this one. I was opening this up last night to see if there's anything I could use. Goodness me, I've completely forgotten what I've copyrighted this one as. Unless it comes to me in the next 15 seconds, I'll have to press on. Razor blade. Oh. Your Contempt. This is called Your Contempt Does Not Impress Me. I was putting together the hardback edition of Bitter Realities, which is my protest song album, Bitter Realities from 1997, and that is the lyric booklet to it, the paperback edition, which has some extra material in it. And yesterday I was trying to get a hardback edition of it out and finished. And I had some new material to go in, so there's 3 extra new pieces in it. One that I wrote yesterday, or the day before yesterday now, called The Sentence Starts on Judgment Day, which is about the Emmett Till disgrace. And I flicked through this yesterday, and I came across this one, and it's a song about... As soon as I saw it, I knew what I was getting at here. This is one of those where one would be sitting in the bar, and especially in the Stars Lane. As I say, it was called the Stars Lane Yuppie Bar. It used to be called. I guess in this day and age, maybe yuppie is not a phrase you can use. I guess, you know, anything that's said with, you know, an edge of malice in it, you know, is not a good word. It's just what was going around at the time, though. The greed is good era. Well, I don't know if that is ever been true. I've never known too much good come from greed, really. The Bible gets it right sometimes, yeah? The love of money is the root of all evil. Not money is the root of all evil, remember that, folks. The exact quote is, the love of money is the root of all evil. And you would get, because everyone was wearing the same clothes and had the same hair, and would come in waving their Filofax around, you know, and clump it down. They had nothing written in them, you know, they just had this, you know, this thing, this Filofax, you know, and they plump it down. And I would be there, and I'd just be like a hobo. I mean, I could buy and sell most of these people at that time, you know, twice over and still have the bus fare home, you know. But I looked like a hobo, I acted like a hobo, and I've always had that kind of mentality, really. I would just sit there. I used to take the window seat all the time. There were 2 good things about this. They had a video jukebox, was the first one in Yeovil. And it would always be playing No Memory by Scarlet Fantastic, excellent song. Stop by the great Sam Brown. I hope the voice is getting better, Sam. And what else was oh, and George Michael, of course, was ubiquitous there. So I used to like that, and it had a huge window that you could look at, and it used to go, because of the position of the place, you'd see all walks of society, so it was quite near a discount supermarket. I can't remember what it was called now. They've gone to the wall. I think it might have been called Quick Save or something like that. I don't know. I know Victoria Wood spoofed it on one of her television shows about jam. Look at our jam. It's like water, and I thought that was very unkind, because people who don't have much money have to shop in those shops. You know, and much though I love Victoria Wood, I took exception to that sketch, and here I am now, 35 years later, still going on about it, you know. And, you know, because, you know, I'm sure if they could have shopped in one of the upmarket supermarkets, if they had the money to do so, they would do so. But they don't have the money, and you do not malign them by association like that. Rant over. Anyway, I would sit there and I mean, here I am, 61 years old and dying of motor neurone disease. I think I'm feisty now. Imagine what I was like back then, huh? And so these people would come in, you know, and they were up to here, you know, they were this tall and they were up to here in debt, you know. I mean, when the stock market crashed in 91, they just wiped them all out, you know. I smiled wryly, you know, because they'd gone and got all these more, they were buying stocks and shares. That was the big thing then, you know. I'd had this dog job in a warehouse then, and there was a guy there, and they would all be going through the back of the newspaper looking at the stocks and shares, saying BT's down. I don't know, I might buy a few, you know. JA, you know who I mean, yeah, JA. What was it you told me you lost? £7,000 the next year. Speculate to humiliate, you know. You know, and they would all buy these houses they couldn't afford on 25-year mortgages. Viv, whatever happened to you, Viv? I mean, how did you ever get the mortgage? They gave my best friend at the time, it's called Viv. He probably still is called Viv. Hi Viv, how you doing? Haven't thought about you in 3 decades. Man, I'm scraping the barrels of my memory here. A lot of stuff that's had rocks on it is coming to the fore now. And so they gave him a mortgage, not just on his earnings, but on his overtime, which wasn't guaranteed, and the prospect of him getting a second job. Madness, you know, but they would just throw, I mean, you just had to walk past a bank in those days and they would throw money at you, you know. They were almost like having shepherd's crooks, like you walk past and, can we give you some money? For what? Oh, you just take it, sign here, you know. Some of these people are still probably paying it off now. And the worst thing for Viv, the absolute tragedy, is that while he was earning all this money, his wife got lonely and he lost everything. And walking in your shoes now, Viv. But all these people had got all these huge mortgages on these properties, and of course they'd gone for the shorter term ones paying more, and then they had nothing. The market crashed, the recession came along, and it was a bad one, 91 recession. I mean, I was cash okay, so I rode it through pretty good, really. But I mean, a lot of people I knew fell by the wayside. And but all these over pretentious people, they lost everything. Whereas, which is the point of the story, the people that they used to deride, who lived in council houses, as I did, and with the amount of breakups I've had in my life, thank God. Man, if I bought a house every time I had a relationship, man, I need to live to be 1,000 to pay it all off. Anyway, so the people who had nothing and therefore hadn't been able to get these crazy loans and do this mad speculation and everything, they rode the recession through. And also, which is, history is not really recorded. But they rode the hard times better because they lived like that, you know. They lived in that frugality, you know. They always only did the laundry twice a week and everything, you know, to cut down on the electricity cost, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, have I read this or not? So, be careful who you're pointing your fingers at, I guess. And that's what this song's about. I was awfully just sitting in there one night, minding my own business, but just looking out of place. Am I doing for time? Because these forms click over after every 34 minutes. And I guess someone was just staring at me in the wrong way. And it says 10-minute job, and I can see from the handwriting I'd obviously just gone, see that? It's one of my "Who the hell do you think you are" songs, I used to call them. And I just grabbed the pen and read it. Anyway, so this is now called, I've copyrighted it now, and it's in the hardback of Bitter Realities, which comes out, goes live 4 days' time, I think. Amazon are just preparing it now. It's called Your Contempt Does Not Impress Me. How dare you look at me with that feeling in your face, as if I got no right to be here, like you own the place. What makes you so damn good? That's what I'd like to know. All your jewels and fancy clothes, they're all just for show. Don't give me all your verbal patriotism, I'm not impressed. I'm not one to sit in judgment. Don't need to pass no test. I don't care what you think of me, I hope I never will. People always were born equal, so save your looks that kill. Take your insecurities, that's where you're coming from. I know what ship you've been sailing, it's a vanity trip you're on. Ashes always will be ashes, and yours will be like mine. Don't think you can escape that. You might be next in line. Follow me with your hatred eyes, if it so pleases you. Take your condescending smile and your high-strung attitude too. I don't lose any sleep over anything I might wear. I don't want your opinions, what makes you think I care. I'd like to go ahead sometime, see you in some years, see if you still feel the same, or if you've met your fears. I stumbled over a few of them there because I obviously wrote it in a white heat of rage. As the song goes on, I can see how I've extended the parameters out, so the opening lines are really about what I was taking there, and then when you get halfway down the song you can see that I'm sort of thinking about how people stare at people in wheelchairs, and I know that feeling now. Of course, you know, I've come to having to use walking aids, well, before I lost so much use of my legs that I can't walk. And that instant skin colour judgment and everything I've taken out there. You know, anyone that doesn't fit into someone's idée fixe of I am me, and if you're not everything I am, then you're nothing. Okay, I've talked. I know I said there was going to be a talky one, but I didn't realise it was going to be that talky. Okay, this is called Concealed Feelings, and I obviously wrote this after the 30th of October 1989, but before, oh goodness me, I must have changed files because we suddenly leap ahead to 1990 in a minute, and there's no way that I went 2 months without writing a song. 2 minutes is a long time in those days, you know. Even now I sort of knock out one every 2 days, and a song as well. Concealed Feelings. So sorry. I think the throat is going now. Concealed feelings. There's a face in my mind that I thought I'd left behind back when I had it all. There's a voice that I know from a long closed down show, so clear that it's hard to recall. I knew as she let me in something was due to begin, but I never could guess just how deep. Her eyes were full of signs that I could not define. I can see them now in my sleep. A tune flew on the breeze as she put me at my ease. We threw our chains down upon the floor. She stepped up next to me, the first step of our history. I could not refrain anymore. I tried to maintain a degree of restraint, but she blew the moment in two. pulled and I moved, all the issues were proved. I could not conceal what she knew. I think that's just a song about being dumped, really. I keep looking in the wrong place. Okay, this one. I'm not sure if this is part of the last song. Sometimes I would put the chorus on the other page. So, but I don't really. If I'm going to copyright this, I'm going to copyright this as "I'm falling." I'm falling. I'm fallow on streets long and narrow. And the next one, I don't know what I'm going to copy this as. I still make do. I can't help but think of you. Even though I've tried to keep you out, I still make do. It's another short one. Sometimes it doesn't happen so much now because I don't have the recall facility. But I would be out, obviously, with a pad writing around. And sometimes you would hold them in. I do apologise for that. I keep sliding down. It's because I have to be wedged up due to the muscle wastage. And so you would write them. But I like to, even now, if you go back through my channel, I write something, so I jot down "as ye sow," and I literally put the pen down, copyright it when it's finished, set a camera up, grabbed kind of musical instrument. My throat is going to seize up in a second, I'm afraid. I do apologise, folks. Bear with me just a second. We've only got another 2 minutes and then the camera will end. To get that first emotion, that first written emotion, I know so many musicians and songwriters, and they write a song and they get it down and they would sit there and they would pick at the lyrics. Days, weeks, months, years. I'll change this, and what do you think now? And by the time they actually come to do anything with it, to demo it up or anything, they've forgotten what the inspiration was. Now, there's nothing entirely wrong with that, because you can find new inspiration, or you can apply, certainly in the case of my works, because they're mainly narratives, to whatever the situation might be that day. Many of these songs, you can tell I've written about, that preceding one, the angry one there. So I wrote that about someone who is, casting me some bigoted glances there, but I could sing that today, and I really would love to, just thinking about the people in this village that, still look down their nose at me because of the colour of my skin, and because I've had foreign wives and everything, And, but I just like to get that first flush down, and sometimes, certainly back in those days, you would just, I could get by and say, okay, I've got the first couple of lines down there, and then it would be, I know where this is going, let's just take this out. And what I call writing with my tongue. These days I think it kind of has a derisive phase. David Bowie was very good. But I still do it now. I mean, just this afternoon I recorded yet another chapter of Prairie Winds, and that was, look it up, it came out pretty good. I didn't sing it too well, but there were some good lines in there, although I had to edit somehow as I was going. And that was just made up on the spot, because I know what I'm thinking about. That song is now almost 6 hours long, because I know what the genesis of that song is, and so every time I pick a guitar up and I hit that E minor to G progression, down to the D progression, it spills out. And that's why some of these songs here are completely unfinished. Prairie Winds, out of the whole 6 hours, I don't know too much of it that was actually written down. That's another book, actually. It's a book on its own. Okay, I think we're out of time here, so I got about 15 seconds to say thank you so much for your patience. I'm sorry I've rambled on a bit too much more than I wanted to in this song. God bless you all. Come back to me, please.